Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm continuing with my Sussex Border Walk. And today I have arrived at Pagham Harbour. Now, in the last episode, you may remember I was walking through Pagham, the sort of holiday resort, if you like, through the caravan park, and I explored the church as well. Well, now I'm making my way, continuing west towards Selsey Bill, whereupon I'll start to turn and then head north. And if you remember, I've started my journey in Worthing and I'm doing the whole circumnavigation in stages. So this stage I've crossed from the church at Pagham. Now, just so you know, I'm not actually walking it all in one go. I'm taking it, as I say, in stages. So I go in my van and I park, and then I walk the next bit, and then so on and so forth. So Pagham is just over there. You can physically walk across from the church to Sidlesham, which is where I am now. And this is an interesting point because there was a tide mill, and you've got this amazing natural area here, which is the harbour, which is of course a site of special interest and a nature reserve. And a lot of people come here for the birds and just to, well, relax, I guess. This is a fascinating place. I've been here a couple of times. In fact, I did make a video with Martin Snow, I think in 2017, and I will link to it below because it does give some extra information about the area and about how this once was almost an island at one point, completely cut off. And as I think I mentioned before, the Romans were in this part of the world. Roman artifacts have been found round here. And of course Saxons after them, and no doubt the Neolithic people, perhaps the Bronze Age and even the Iron Age people may have been around here using this place to fish, because at one point this was much deeper, and because, as we'll see, boats of 25 tons would come in the mid 18th century. So prior to that, although as we can see now it's just lots of rivulets of little tidal estuaries, I suppose, in this area, at one point it was much bigger and deeper, and probably provided the local farming communities with plenty of fish-based food. I've noticed all along here on the edge here, just as we get to what is more firmer land on the other side, I suppose, blackthorn. And I was reminded by one of my viewers, thank you very much for that, who said, of course, blackthorn is known as a when blackthorn blooms, it's known as a blackthorn winter, because the temperature usually drops about then. Now, I'm filming right at the beginning of Easter, and I can tell you, at sunrise, it was about 1 degree centigrade. We've had a little bit of sunshine recently, and temperatures have gone up into, I don't know, 10, 13, something like that degrees centigrade. Then all of a sudden, it's now just dropped back again. And it's true what they say about the blackthorn. I hadn't really appreciated it, but there you go. Looking forward to then later on, in what's called May, of course, is the hawthorn coming out, and that, as the name suggests, sort of comes out towards the end of April and May time. You can certainly hear the gulls, and no doubt there's lots of other wading birds that come here. Now, I don't really specialise in birds at all. I can barely recognise anything, unfortunately, but I'm sure there are plenty of people who will be able to comment and tell us what kind of birds that you would find here at different times of the year. Of course, migrating birds, natural birds that live here natively. There's also a wall here, which presumably is to protect the land from the sea, because obviously we still get high tides here. So I'm crossing across the harbour to Sidlesham Quay. It's an interesting quay with some rather delightful, if you look behind me, houses here. These houses, I think scattered farmhouses all round here, date from about the 17th and 18th century. Walking along the quayside here that faces the rest of the harbour, and it's hard to imagine on this level bit of turf here and this stone wall that one time almost the grandest of tide mills that ever there was stood on this site. I believe it was in 1755 that a chap called Woodruff Drinkwater built an amazingly impressive mill here with 8 grinding stones to grind corn, and 3 water wheels that would churn around. And it operated for around about 100 years in actual fact, but its fate was came about really when this whole harbour area was sealed, and then the mill became redundant, and unfortunately all the bricks were used during the First World War to build local houses, or was sold off for a bit of a profit. I gather in its heyday on average, 68 ships would come in of about 25 tons, so quite hefty ships, and they would bring in coal to run some of the mill when the tide wasn't operating it, and also, of course, the grain to be turned into flour, or the corn, if you like, that's turned into flour. And they would then leave with the product, the flour, and they would go through the entrance to the harbour, which is in the greater distance there. There's very little of the mill left. There's just the odd remnants, and of course the bit of the quayside to show where it was. But fortunately a sign has been put up that does tell us a little bit more about it and the fate. You see, what happened is in the 1870s, in the mid-Victorian period, it was deemed that this whole harbour wanted to be reclaimed as agricultural land, and so they sealed up the entrance to the harbour, and 700 acres of this was then turned into agricultural land. And I gather there was sheep, and of course there were crops, but it didn't last, because the sea and erosion, being what it is, broke that sealed entrance, and once again this became a harbour, but not so much a harbour for boats and things. It was really much more turned into a natural nature reserve, and I believe that happened in 1964 and is operated, or looked after if you like, by the West Sussex County Council. And I suppose it's hard to think of industry being here in what it was, but now of course it's an absolute haven, and places like this have got to be saved. It's quite a vast area. I don't actually know how big it is, but there are plenty of walks that you can take around here. And of course people do come. That's why I've come early in the morning to get these shots in, because I'm actually filming on Easter Sunday, and you can imagine that people will be coming out after having had all their Easter eggs and what have you, and getting out to enjoy the lovely countryside. And it's going to be a beautiful hot sunny day, so I wanted to make the most of it myself and show it in its natural beauty without lots of people littering the place up. Look at all these absolutely amazing reeds. Huge, great big things. Taller than me, 6 foot or so, right up there. You can imagine inside lots of different animals and birds and creatures enjoying this wonderful serenity. And I imagine also that these reeds, beds like this, have existed here for centuries, and would have been, of course, for the old farming cottages in the area, a source for the thatch on the roofs. Well, I have to say this is a remarkable place, and if you can get here when it's quiet, which I imagine pretty much early in the morning, any time really, possibly, there's so many walks to go on. Just that peace and sense of tranquility here is quite remarkable, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this. This is what I'm finding with the Sussex Border Path, or the walk, is that every different element of one county is so incredibly different, and you only go a mile or two and there's something new to discover. So I hope you'll continue to discover the Sussex County, the border of it, as I go round. Don't forget to follow, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've found it interesting. I may not always get my facts and history right, and I may often miss things out, and that's where it's great to have you guys watching and commenting. So do leave your comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Till then, thanks for watching. Bye bye. Bye bye.